Hi, in this video, we will understand the meaning of the term undersubscription, and we'll also do an example sum where the issue of shares is undersubscribed. Shares are said to be undersubscribed when number of shares applied for is less than the number of shares issued. The company can go ahead with the allotment if the minimum subscription is reached. As per SEBI guidelines, in the case of listed companies, minimum subscription is 90% of the shares which have been issued. Where the minimum subscription is not reached, the company must refund the application money within 15 days of the closure of the issue. And where the minimum subscription is reached, the company can allot the shares in full to all the applicants. So now that we've understood the meaning of the term undersubscription, let's go to an example sum. Example sum. Rishi Limited was registered with an authorized capital of 1 lakh shares of rupees 10 each. The company invited applications for 40,000 shares of rupees 10 each. The amount was payable as follows: on application rupees 3, on allotment rupees 4, and on first and final call rupees 3. Applications were received for 37,500 shares. Arun, to whom 1,000 shares were allotted, did not pay the allotment money and the first and final call money. Babu, who had applied for 500 shares, did not pay the first and the final call. Pass the necessary journal entries in the books of the company and also show the balance sheet and prepare notes to accounts for share capital. Now if we see here, the number of shares issued by the company Rishi Limited is 40,000 shares, whereas the applications were received for only 37,500 shares. So we need to do the entire sum for the number of shares allotted, which is 37,500 shares. So we'll make a few notes. 37,500 shares are allotted. So we know that this is an undersubscription sum. We'll break down the installments. We have application, allotment, and the final call. The total face value and the issue price is 10 rupees. Amount payable on application is rupees 3. Amount payable on allotment is rupees 4. And amount payable on the final call is rupees 3. Now it says that Arun, to whom 1,000 shares were allotted, did not pay the allotment money and the first and the final call. And Babu, who had applied for 500 shares, did not pay the first and the final call. So the allotment money we did not receive for 1,000 shares. And the final call money we did not receive for 1,000 shares of Arun. And in the case of Babu, we would have applied, he has applied for 500 shares and he would have been allotted 500 shares, and Babu didn't pay the final call. So in the case of final call, we did not receive for 1,500 shares, 1,000 of Arun's and 500 of Babu's. So let's go ahead with the solution. we have in the books of Rishi Limited journal, date / serial number, particulars, LF number, debit rupees and credit rupees. The first journal entry for the receipt of application money of rupees 3 per share on 37,500 shares. Bank account debit to share application account for the application money received. The amount of application money received is 37,500 shares multiplied by 3. Which comes up to 1,12,500 rupees. The second entry is for allotment of shares. We will transfer the application money to the share capital account. Share application account debit to share capital account for application money transferred to share capital account. The amount of the application money which has been transferred is 1,12,500 rupees. The third entry is to make the allotment money due. Share allotment account debit to share capital account allotment money due. The amount of allotment money due is 37,500 multiplied by 4. Comes up to 1,50,000 rupees. The fourth entry is for receipt of allotment money, bank account debit to share allotment account allotment money received. We must remember that in respect of 1,000 shares of Arun, we did not receive the allotment money. So the amount of allotment money received is 36,500 shares multiplied by 4 rupees per share, which comes up to 1,46,000 rupees. Fifth entry, share final call account debit to share capital account for the final call money due it's due on 37,500 shares multiplied by 3 comes up to 1,12,500 rupees. And the last entry, bank account debit to share final call account for the final call money received. We did not receive the final call money in respect of both Arun shares as well as Babu shares. That's 1,000 shares plus another 500 shares, which is 1,500 shares. So it's 36,000 multiplied by 3. 1,08,000 rupees. We've completed the journal entries. Before we go on to the balance sheet and the notes to accounts, we'll have a view of all the journal entries. So that's the sum on the top, the notes that we prepared. First part of the journal entries. And the second part of the journal entries. Let's continue with the balance sheet and notes to accounts. Solution. We leave space for the balance sheet and prepare the notes to accounts at the bottom. Notes to accounts. We have particulars and a rupee column. The first note is for share capital. We'll begin with the authorized capital. One lakh shares of rupees 10 each. That's 10 lakh rupees with a double underline. Next is issued capital. Number of shares issued, 40,000 shares of rupees 10 each. 4 lakh rupees with a double underline. We'll go on to subscribed capital. We need to check how many shares comes under subscribed and fully paid up and how many come under subscribed but not fully paid up. Now, as per what we've learned, in the case of subscribed and fully paid up shares, the company should have called up the full face value of the share and also received the same, so that in respect of the 37,500 minus Arun share of rupees 1,000 minus Babu shares of rupees 500, the company has called up the entire face value of the share and also received it. So 37,500 minus 1,500, 36,000 shares we will classify as subscribed and fully paid up. $36,000 shares of rupees 10 each. The outer column, 3,60,000 rupees. Subscribed but not fully paid up, we have 1,000 shares of Arun and 500 shares of Babu, where though the full amount has been called, they haven't paid the full amount. So 500 shares of rupees 10 each, 15,000 rupees. There is calls and arrears, so less the calls and arrears. So 1,000 shares, we did not receive the allotment money of 4, and on 1,500 shares, we did not receive the final call money of rupees 3. So the total calls and arrears is 8,500 rupees. So the amount in the outer column is 6,500 rupees. And the amount to be shown under share capital in balance sheet is 3,66,500 rupees. The shares have not been issued at a premium, so there is no item under reserves and surplus. We will write the note number 2 as cash and cash equivalents. Cash at bank. The amount received is equal to the amount of the share capital, 3,66,500 rupees. So we've completed the notes to accounts. We'll fill in the balance sheet. Balance sheet of Rishi Limited as at 31st March dash, we have particulars, note number and a rupee column. The first part of the balance sheet, equity and liabilities. We have 1, shareholders funds. Under that, A is share capital. As per note 1 of share capital, the amount of share capital is 3,66,500 rupees, and the total of the liability side of the balance sheet is also 3,66,500. The second part of the balance sheet, assets. There are no non-current assets. We have 1, current assets. Under that, A, cash and cash equivalents. Against note number 2, we arrived at 3,66,500 rupees. The total of the asset side of the balance sheet is also 3,66,500. So let's remove the split and view the entire answer. So that's the example sum at the top with the notes after that. The balance sheet of Rishi Limited is this. Followed by the notes to accounts. Now, a small point to note. If we need to check whether our balance sheet items are correct, for example, if cash at bank is correct, we have arrived at 3,66,500 in the balance sheet. We'll add up all the amounts of bank in the journal entries and check whether we get 3,66,500. So we have all the journal entries in the top half of the screen. The first one was the application money received, which is 1,12,500 rupees. The next bank debit is in the fourth journal entry, 1,46,000 rupees. And the final bank debit is 1,08,000 rupees. So on totaling, we get 3,66,500 rupees, which is the amount of cash at bank which we arrived at from the share capital amount. So this is one way of checking whether the balance sheet is correct. So now in this example sum, we learnt how to pass journal entries as well as prepare the balance sheet and notes to accounts for shares issue when the issue is undersubscribed. In the upcoming video, we will see these in the case of oversubscription.